Welcome back, everybody, to this week's live episode of the DCL Duo podcast, brought to you by My Path Unwinding Travel and also our good folks over at the WDW magazine. The DCL magazine Float Test Edition is available now, so head over to dcl-magazine.com to grab your edition of the Float Test magazine dedicated to Disney Cruise Line with all the great photos, all the great articles, all the great things. And if you hit up their store and use code DCL Duo, all caps DCL Duo, you can take 10% off everything in the store, from the magazine subscriptions, the digital magazine subscriptions, to the wall calendar that Sam never got last year. All the great things. Actually, the new calendar just came out, so grab one if you want one, because they go fast over there. So thank you to WDW Magazine for sponsoring our show. And we got another sponsor with it. Actually, introduce your guest, because of the technical setup tonight. We got to introduce the guest, and then we can bring on one of our fan favorites.
Yes. And to answer Vanessa's question in the chat, yes, this is a new DCL cardigan sweater that I got on board the Disney Wonder in Alaska.
I have the matching men's version somewhere.
He does. Mine is a cardigan, Brian's is a pullover. But I'm super excited for tonight's show. I say that a lot, but I'm even more excited because we're joined by two of our friends. It's actually like a double reunion. I mean, we met both of these wonderful ladies in 2022. So 3 years ago, we met them on the Disney Magic, sailing out of New Orleans. Was our first time sailing concierge. They were with the My Path Unwinding group cruise at the time. And we were lucky enough to meet both Karen and Ashley, who are our guests tonight. And then, of course, we got to sail with them. We've sailed with both of them now a couple of times. We got to sail with both of them again in 2024 on the DCL Duo podcast cruise, also on the Disney Magic. Or actually, sorry, the first time we met them was on the Disney Wonder, then on the Disney Magic.
So much lead up, Sam. Just introduce
anyway,
our guest.
I'm super excited to say welcome back to the show to both our lovely show sponsor, Karen from My Path Unwinding Travel, and our friend and fellow My Path Unwinding client, Ashley. Welcome, ladies.
Everybody.
We are so happy to have you both on tonight's show. Ashley is going to be talking with us all about her European sailing on the Disney Fantasy that she just came back from not too long ago. And Karen is joining us for the top of the show to give some tips and tricks for cruising in Europe on Disney Cruise Line. And I wanted to begin, of course, the show before we get into those wonderful topics by mentioning some Disney Cruise Line news. So I'll mention all the pieces of news and then ask for some reactions. So the first piece of news I wanted to cover is that sea trials have begun for the Disney Adventure. So she has left Wismar, Germany to start sea trials. She was actually seen from the Disney Fantasy as the Disney Fantasy was traveling at sea the other night. Another piece of important news for the Disney Fantasy is that she was supposed to sail the British Isles cruise from Southampton this week, I believe starting today, Monday. And they had to do an itinerary change. They announced it maybe a day or two ago, and they had to swap to a completely different itinerary because of weather conditions that they're expecting to experience around the British Isles. And so they are headed to Norway this week instead, which I'll be honest, I don't think is a bad change. Two other pieces of news are pirate related. One is that Davy Jones has now been spotted on the Wish on Pirate Night. I haven't heard if he's been spotted on any of the other ships, but he was spotted on the balcony in the Grand Hall on the Wish, thanks to our
friend Wes.
DCL, yes. DCL dude Wes for posting about it. And then the other pirate news is that the Cask and Cannon, which is the Pirates of the Caribbean themed bar on the Destiny, yet to be, of course, they released some additional renderings, some additional artwork, and a bunch of pictures of potential merchandise that are pirate themed. So I gotta ask, what do folks think about all this pirate themed news? Let's start with Karen.
I am so excited, and I'm just ready to have a drink with you on the Disney Destiny in that new bar. Like, just bring it on. It's beautiful. The theming looks amazing, and of course, like anything to like make Pirate Night feel more piratey, I'm all in. So I think it's cool.
Love it. All right, Ashley, what about you? Are you all in for Pirate Night and Pirate Theme Bar?
I'm all in for any merch that I can buy. Clearly, I have my European half zip on and my ears, and I love meeting Captain Jack on the cruise. So bring on more characters.
Love that. I did see, the map design that they have released, and we have heard from our friends over at WDW Magazine, Stephanie Schuster, who got to go on the Destiny for that preview, that that's actually what the ceiling looks like. So that ceiling is like carved. Of course, they weren't allowed to take pictures or anything, but that's supposedly what that rendering is representative of, which I don't think Disney was necessarily clear about, but I'm super excited to see that. She said it's beautiful in person. Brian, are you excited for Pirates? I mean, I know you love Periscope Pub. Are
I mean,
you? I
yes,
know you're a
I'm
little.
excited for anything new. I like Disney to do new stuff. Like the thing I'm least excited about on the Destiny is the repeat of the Haunted Mansion parlor. It's a great bar. I love it on the Treasure. I wish they had done something different on the Destiny. So anything that they want to do that's new, I'm excited to experience. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Well,
ship differentiation. That's my thing.
yes, absolutely. And there's some folks in the chat talking about whether or not this is a good change, a bad change for the Disney fantasy changing from British Isles to Norway. I mean, I think it's good, like in part because Norway is so awesome, but also in part because you don't want to sail in bad weather. So isn't it better that Disney sail where it's like safe and where the seas are calm than being like going like this, like we did on that one trip to Nassau? So I don't
But
know.
I can understand the disappointment of folks who booked a British Isles cruise who may have been on a Norway cruise already, right?
Fair.
I get it. I get it. I do want
Right.
to just quickly shout out. We've got two people watching some from strange locations. So shout out to fan number one and number one fan Tracy, who is watching us, I think, from the Detroit airport, waiting to board her flight to Europe for her adventures by Disney in Italy this week.
And
And
she'll be
then,
on the show in a few weeks, you guys. So
yes,
stay tuned.
but
Yeah.
winner is Alan, who is on the Disney Fantasy right now for the European sailing season, on his way to Norway, watching us on board. So for anyone out there who asked me about the quality of the internet on the Disney Cruise Line with Starlink, there's your answer. Alan's watching us live right now from the Disney Fantasy. So thank you, Alan, for spending some time with us this evening. So yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into our tips and tricks segment for today. We asked Karen to come on to give folks some ideas for how you can enhance your cruise experience, particularly in Europe on Disney Cruise Line, by the use of a good travel advisor. So, Karen, tell us some tips and tricks you've got for us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I was so excited to talk about this topic with Ashley on because Ashley got to work with the incredible, unmatched travel advisor, Kaylee DeGorsey from our team. Sadly, she couldn't be on tonight. Otherwise, she would have been. But, what Kaylee did with Ashley is what all of us at My Path Unwinding can do for our clients. When somebody says, why should we work with a travel advisor? Why should we work with My Path Unwinding versus just going ahead and book it with Disney? Europe is such a great example of how partnering with a travel advisor is so important. And I say partnering because I think that Ashley knows very well that it is a collaboration. It doesn't have to be the travel advisor telling you what to do and where to go. And it's not also going to be the client, the guest giving orders to the travel advisor. It's a conversation and it's a joint planning process. And it's as much of that collaboration as you want. But when you book directly with Disney Cruise Line, they're great. They're a great group over there, right? They have great customer service, but they're going to give you what they can offer, which is the cruise, which is the Disney Cruise Line Vacation Protection Plan, which is their hotel that they offer pre or post cruise, their transfers, and their port adventures. You may feel somewhat safe in that bubble of using all of those Disney products. And if you do, that's great. We can keep you safely in that Disney bubble. But you might think, you know what? There's a different hotel I'd like to stay at. I want to extend my trip pre or post. Then, well, how do I get there from the airport if it's not a Disney hotel? And then how do I get to the ship if it's not a Disney hotel? So we can take care of those aspects for you by making recommendations for other hotels, by helping you with transfer options. Ashley, how did you like those black lane transfers?
Oh, they were wonderful. The drivers were great. The cars were great, on time. Yes, I will. I want that service every time I travel.
Once you do it, we use them all over the world now, and it's so special having that black car waiting for you and knowing that that they're available, whether it be the black car, the sprinter van, whatever is going to accommodate your family. So we arrange all those pieces and parts. And then when it comes to um, excursions, Disney curates some great port adventures. And I'm going to be honest, there's a few ports where you are not going to find anything for you beyond what Disney offers, because the cruise lines sometimes book everything up with whoever are the reputable suppliers. But most of the time, in the different ports around the world, in your embarkation and debarkation cities or towns, and in all the little ports all around, we have a range of partners that we can work with to find you different options. It could be that your family just, maybe you just don't like what Disney offers. Or maybe you don't want a group experience for a variety of reasons. You want something that's timed differently, or you want a smaller group experience just for you and your family and friends. We can arrange all of those things. We can customize excursions even, and we can put all of that together for you well ahead of your booking window with Disney Cruise Line. And
Yeah.
that's another thing. I mean, we know that Disney cruisers are planners. Ashley's a planner, I know. But sometimes it's frustrating, even if you can start putting in requests, 120 something days in advance. That's not enough planning for a lot of people when they are traveling all the way to Europe. So being able to plan some of those short excursions ahead of time is also really helpful. And then last but not least, being able to take all of those components, whether your cruise, your hotel, your transfers, your excursions, and insure all of that together. Disney can't do that. They will only insure the things that they have booked. So putting all of that together with your flights and having it all insured is really an economical way and gives you security. So I would love to hear more from Ashley about, what she experienced, and I'm sure we'll talk about that throughout the show.
Yeah, and Ashley was mentioning pre-show there was some like exclusive things that you kind of like it can't generally get outside of like booking and adventures by Disney that sometimes going through your travel advisor you can have access to. So give us a couple of examples. We'll go into more detail, of course, of some of these things on the show, but give us a couple of examples, Ashley, of things like that were helpful to have booked through Kaylee and My Path Unwinding.
Yes, definitely the transfers to and from the airports in the Sprinter van, which we took every available space in that van. But then also we looked at the ABD London excursion, which was not available for our dates, but we wanted to see what they offered because we didn't want to miss the highlights. And we Kaylee and I sat down together one Saturday afternoon on a FaceTime, and I had my list from watching YouTube videos and books, and she had her list of what ABD suggests, and then we figured out a way to book those together. So she had the Viator group or portal to then help me figure out which of the tours we wanted to do: the tour of Tower of London, the changing of the guards, Westminster Abbey, those highlights. And I've heard the description of what ABD does for seeing those crown jewels in the Tower of London. And that is the experience I felt like we got, since that wasn't an option for us, because we were the first in line with the security guards. We did meet that beefeater in it was a group of about 20 of us. And then we were the first people up to see those crown jewels when they opened. And it was not crowded at all. So being able to know that we were with a trusted tour group that had fantastic guides, and then having it all packaged together. And you speak of that insurance. We all want to use it for our trip, but luckily we didn't. But it was a great peace of mind to know that the entire vacation was packaged together for that insurance.
Awesome. Well, thanks, you guys.
Awesome.
We so appreciate Karen.
I love it.
We so appreciate you coming on the show, Karen. If folks want to reach out to you, where can they reach out to you? What is the best way to reach out to you and letting people know that they came from the DCL Duo?
Today, I'm going to lead with our email address, which is dclduo@mypathunwinding.com. The website address is also scrolling. You can see that. I will acknowledge we've had a few website glitches the last couple of days. I think it's all fixed, but mypathunwinding.com/DCLduo, or email dclduo@mypathunwinding.com, or we are all over the DCL Duo Facebook group and our Facebook groups and Instagram. So you'll find us on socials and be able to connect with one of our great advisors. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you on, Karen. Thank you so much. And we'll see you in the chat, Karen.
See you soon.
All right. Well, that was fun. I love hearing all those tips and tricks. Now we've got an awesome presentation to show our guests that Ashley put together, which I love. Ashley, I think, is the first one to have put together a presentation for us, and she's now like, she started a trend. Not every live show guest does this, but we love it when live show guests do it, and we love it when they do it not because necessarily we need it, but it's always, I think, helpful to show visuals to the audience. And it does help us like kind of go through their trip in like a logical fashion. And it helps, I know, for me, trigger memories and whatnot when I'm looking at a slideshow. So thank you, Ashley, for starting this awesome trend. Before we start it, Ashley, remind people, how many Disney cruises have you been on? And give us an example of some of the itineraries you've been on. I mean, obviously you've been on the Eastern Caribbean with us, but besides that.
Yes, we have. So this was our first platinum cruise. So this was number 11 for us.
Yay!
And we've done Alaska, which was great, reliving those Alaska memories with your show last week. We've done out of New Orleans, Port Canaveral. We've now done all the ships. And so for a few more months, I can say that I've been on every Disney ship. Don't know how long I'll keep that with the adventure so far away. But so we've done, and out of New York City, and they've got to bring back those New York itineraries at some point.
Yes. All right. Well, let's start with the details. You were sailing with your daughter, who is 10. Am I right? Is Catherine 10?
She turned 11 on the vacation, but for Disney, yes, for Kids Club purposes, she was 10.
Happy belated birthday, Catherine.
Yes, happy belated birthday, Catherine. And your husband, Daniel, and your mom joined you. And I know your mom is a very fit and mobile lady, but she suffered an injury shortly before the cruise and was having to use a wheelchair for this cruise, right?
Yes. And this was a new adventure for us. It happened about 2 weeks before the trip. And luckily it was nothing that required surgery. She was cleared medically to join us. And I was there with her doctor, who said, well, there are plenty of people in London who have wheelchairs. As long as there's somebody to push you around, go for it and use your cane. And that is what we did. We did not let it hold us back. We learned a lot through the experience. So I have some tips on that as well, if you're a last minute or an everyday wheelchair user.
Awesome. Fantastic. Now, we did have a question in the chat about about visas. You didn't need visas, right? What did you need to get to the UK, if anything?
We did need the new travel UK visa, but we got it back in February. It was $12, and it lasts for the length of 2 years, I think, year and a half, 2 years. And we did need it just to move around the airport as well, because we changed terminals. So that was a very specific thing. But the EU visa to visit Spain was not in place yet. We were told we needed it, but as of our sailing, it had not gone into effect yet.
Okay, so you have the UK, I think it's called the ETA, Alan saying in the chat. Of course, you have your passport. You all need passports. If you're going to Europe, you need passports. This is not like a Bahamian sailing where you can go with a birth certificate and driver's license. So you need passports. Okay, so you all are flying. You live in North Carolina. You flew. Sorry, my grammar is not great today. I read real good. You flew from Atlanta to London Heathrow. Is that right?
Yes, my mom was out of Atlanta and we live in Charlotte, but we flew out of Raleigh because on points, and that was a better deal for points. And so we flew out of there about 2.5 hours from us, and we got in super early in the morning. Thank goodness that Sprinter van was there, and the driver was very helpful with helping with luggage, because we are not light packers. Plus we had my mom's transfer wheelchair. So it was a whole experience. But that was great. And we stayed pre-cruise 2 nights. We wanted to make sure we adjusted to the time zone a bit. And at the Disney cruise booked hotel. So it was part of our Disney package. So that same paid in full date. And it was beautiful. It was the Churchill, which is a Hyatt Regency property. My daughter wants to stay there now all the time. And I have a picture in the slides of the most amazing pastry buffet bar and we had breakfast included with our stay for those 2 days as well. So it was a gorgeous room. We overlooked this private little park from our beautiful windows, and perfect location near Hyde Park.
Awesome. Love that. And how was the accessibility with the wheelchair for your mom, for the hotel? Because not all European hotels are super accessible. How was this one?
Well, actually, they're typically smaller, right? And so it very much was similar to the cruise room, which was smaller. So actually for us, it was great, because then she always had something to hold on to, and it wasn't a large open space. So we're going to turn that into a positive.
I love room. The small room is a positive because you can hold on to things. I love that.
Yeah,
and then
the beds were two queens and a king in the other room. We had 2 different rooms, and great bathroom. I mean, it was absolutely lovely.
What about the elevator, Ashley? Because we've stayed at the St. Ermins, and the elevator is a little tight. I'm not sure a wheelchair would fit in there easily.
I think just a wheelchair, not even. I think maybe the wheelchair and nothing else could fit in that elevator at St. Ermins that you're thinking of, right? Yeah.
Yes, it was tight. All 4 of us can fit in that one. Later in the trip at Fortnum and Mason, only my mom could fit into it. So we made the elevator situation work. But she also had a smaller transfer wheelchair, not a full-size wheelchair or a scooter, or a wheelchair with the larger wheels that you could self-power. This was one of those more narrow, they call them transfer wheelchairs.
Yeah. Versus those, if you think about like those scooters probably wouldn't fit in most European elevators, period. Now, it looks like you packed a ton into your pre-cruise 2 days. I mean, Hyde Park, Portobello Road, which is in Notting Hill, Nottingham Bookshop, Sunday roast eating, changing of the guards, St. James Park, Buckingham Palace. What was the favorite? I mean, this is a ton of stuff you did, Ashley, and we want to get to the cruise. So what was the favorite from the pre-cruise?
Yeah, I think I'll say 2 small things, which is the playground in Hyde Park, the Diana Memorial Playground. It's like a pirate. And it was very hard for me to find a photo that was only my daughter, because there was a million kids in a great way. And she instantly started playing with kids in languages she didn't even speak. So that was great. Sunday roast was phenomenal, obviously. But then the white pelicans, because I've read novels where they talk about these white pelicans in St. James Park near Buckingham Palace. And we thought we were going to have to go searching for them. And they are large, and they're in the middle of all the benches that you want to sit. You can't walk down the pathways. So that was a joy and a great way to start our very quick, get used to London.
There's a
adventure.
question in the chat about how you got around London. I was going to say, I hope you used the tube system because it's pretty great. But how did you get around London to all of the different activities?
Great question. We used every single mode of transportation possible. So my mom set out the Portobello Road experience because that was a lot of small streets and cobblestones. But we used taxis, a lot of taxis because of ease of transportation. And we had a great app, the London Transportation app. Of course, we were using Google Maps, but not all of the tube stations and train stations are accessible. And so having that app tell us which ones not only had the elevator or the lift, but also where they were working or not. So maybe they would work one direction, but not the other. And then Daniel rode around on the Lime bikes, and we used the Uber taxi or the Uber water taxi. Yes.
Oh, we saw that. We saw the Uber water taxi. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Nice.
All right. So Embarkation Day, you are sailing out of Southampton. So tell us how you get to the port.
Yes. So because we were at the Disney Hotel, I actually wanted it for the transportation down there. It was a typical coach bus, like we would have, not branded with Mickey, but the same coach bus. And it was a 2.5-hour without traffic down to the Southampton terminal. And Disney travels in and out of the Horizon one, or at least they are this season. And that was very important for transportation. And they actually had weather on the sailing before us. And so they sent an email out the night before that said, hey, everybody delay at least an hour, maybe 2, because we're not going to be able to clear customs and do all of that. Well, the Disney coach bus did not do that. So who was the very first person at the port? Our coach bus, which was great. Gosh. We didn't have to worry about traffic or transportation changes, which are always a little dicey. And right now would be a problem, for example, with the transportation strikes. And so we had that satisfaction of getting down there. We literally opened the port. We had a porter who helped with the wheelchair, and we got in so easy. Everybody was lovely, except for the big yellow tunnel that you walk through in Port Canaveral. This felt exactly like Port Canaveral. Open, clean, great air conditioning. And we sat next to the family of the day. And technically we were boarding group 2, but I think maybe we were the 5th family on the boat.
That's it.
Great idea to use transportation.
So here's a question. When exactly was this cruise? When did you go? Were you July, August? I can't remember.
Yes. August 5th. We departed August 5th. Out of Southampton. And 5 nights.
How was weather in terms of temperature and rain?
London was hot. The sea days, because we had 2 sea days, one on either end, they were both foggy. So there's a great picture coming up where it's just complete fog. It was very similar to our Alaska summer cruise with that fog, and they had the foghorn going. The seas, we were moving a bit, but nothing my patch and sea bands couldn't handle. And then it was hot and sunny in Spain. So we had great weather, I think.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. Yep. So let's talk about Embarkation Day. What were some of the things we did on Embarkation Day? Did you do sit down lunch? Did you do Cabana's lunch? I see you had to do some changes to adult dining. So tell us about the start of the day.
Yeah, so like any good Disney cruiser, the first thing you do at the port is open up the app and figure out what your dining rotation is, when the shows are, the main stage shows, which are very important for us. And we found out that Palo, because we had first night Palo, thinking, there won't be a show that night. We were wrong. It was the Frozen show. So the very first thing we had to do, Remy, we had Remy, and it overlapped with Frozen, and we had to see that show. So that was our first change. We switched our Remy reservation night. We missed Animator's Palette, but that's okay. And then we also wanted to change our brunch time and to also make sure they knew that she had, for Palo brunch on our last CD, that we had a space that did not require step-ups. Because, sometimes in Palo, they have those booths or those step-up areas. And we wanted to make sure we were just on a regular table.
Yeah, that's a good idea to also do that ahead of time, because if you show up to the restaurant, they will, of course, try to accommodate you as best as possible. But if their only tables left open in the restaurant happen to have the step up and they didn't know you were coming with a wheelchair, then it can be an issue. So,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely a very, very smart idea to make those changes. You now, had you been on the fantasy before, or was this your first
No.
time? Oh my
Very
goodness.
first time. She was our last ship. I know, because we did all these odd, great itineraries instead of your typical standard 7-night itineraries with our Disney cruise history. And so this is our last time, last ship. And we had not been on the Dream, her sister ship, in probably 9, 8 years. So it was a while for the ship. So we had to figure out our way around, and part of that was checking out the kids club, because this was Catherine's last sailing, being in the Oceaneers Kids Club. We also got to check out the Vibe. I'm sorry, Edge.
Edge,
Edge,
yes.
yes. Which I included a photo to remember to say these are one of the last sailings that she gets to be in the funnel suite and gets her magic band hooked up to go up to the elevator to get to be an Edge, because it switches after dry dock. So that was, we had to explore those clubs, explore the tube, the adult situation. And look, hot take, people. I know that adults area in the front has a lot of fans out there. We did not like it. We were itching and jonesing for the Treasure Wish layout, because you have
Oh,
everything spread out in different places. I know, I did not think I was going to say this, y'all, but the having all the adult spaces in the front, and especially the kind of curvy, windy spaces, and having to go through some adult lounges to get to others. No, I take me back to the Wish and the Treasure for the adult
oh,
space.
funny. Well, you know
Yeah.
what's I don't spend a lot of time in that carousel themed bar because it's kind of a hallway also. So I agree with you there. I mean, I actually really love the adult bars on the Fantasy in particular because I really like the theming of them. I love the European theming. It's called Europa for those who haven't been on. And I really like the theming in the tube. But I get what you're saying. A lot some of the spaces, because you do have to walk through them, and that carousel bar being one of them. I'm blanking on the name of it. It's the Italy themed bar.
Palazzo,
But
isn't it?
Oh,
is
Palazzo sounds right. Yeah.
yeah, that sounds right. Anyway, that one, it does kind of feel like a hallway instead of feeling like a bar. But it has my favorite bathrooms, the Barcelona bathrooms. What did you think of the
I'm
Barcelona?
going to give
I know it
you,
sounds
this
exotic.
may not be your favorite bathroom after
La
this
Piazza,
conversation.
thank
La
you,
Piazza,
Lindsay.
La
La
Piazza.
Piazza. I was
Lafayette.
like, it sounds right, but I didn't think it was exactly right. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, so adult moment here. The last question in Match Your Mate about where you find the magic, that restroom was one of the answers.
That's a
So you
terrible answer.
might want to
Maybe
change your.
maybe I have to change my favorite bathrooms because that's just wrong. Bathrooms should just not be on that list. I'm just
No,
gonna say that.
I think
Okay,
they got a
well,
talking to saying, don't do that again.
yeah, don't do that again. All right. Well, so you got to check out the ship, which as you said, you hadn't been on before. What did you think of the sail away party? You hadn't seen that probably in years because the Dream and the Fantasy have a different sail away party than the sail away party that the Magic and the Wonder have, which is also different from what the Wish and the Treasure have. So it
Yes.
probably was new, or at least you didn't remember it if it has, even if it's the same as it was on the Dream is 8 or 9 years ago.
It was odd because everyone sat down. I'm not kidding you.
Oh,
There
weird.
is
That is
some
odd.
interesting things that we noticed about the folks on the European sailings. And Alan, I don't know, is being on the ship, if you've noticed this as well. And this was one of them for the pirate deck party and the sail away party. There was nobody dancing. Catherine and I went off to the side and danced during the pirate, but everyone sat down. You know how they cover the pools with like the decking so that you can stand? And the cast members on stage were just saying, everybody stand up and clap your hands and dance around and here are the moves. And not a single person moved. Everyone was sitting down, adults, they were sitting in chairs, sitting, on the ground. It was weird. Catherine
Yeah.
kept asking me, when do we get up, Mom?
Well, and Catherine loves to dance during all of the deck parties and all of
Yes.
those like kinds of events. Like I know I've seen her do it when we sailed with you guys. Like she's really into it and loves to participate in that. So that must have been ultra weird. But I you mentioned something to me when we talked about your trip right after you had come back over text, if I'm remembering correctly, that there weren't a lot of Americans on board. In fact, you guys only met in all of your interactions like one or two other American families.
Yes, we did. And I think because this was one of the shorter sailings, it wasn't your 9, 10, 14 night itineraries in the European season. And it was right before school going back for the folks in Europe as well. And it was great in that it was people from all over Europe. But it was a lot of really younger and first time sailing because, when in the theater they say, hey, is this your first cruise? I think we were the only people who didn't clap in the theater that it was not our first cruise. It was all first time cruisers. So you had the more madness than normal in terms of people finding things. We were one of the only people in the sit down lunch on the first day. And yes, they had the good cheesecake. That's the top photo. So it was a different experience having people who are not as Disney and also just a lot of younger kids. Catherine never went back to the Edge because there were no kids in there, and the cast members confirmed that. And it was interesting in the Oceaneers Club too, because the kids didn't know what to do, and there were so many young ones. So it was a lot of that preschool, kindergarten age group. There was just loads of that age group on this cruise.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so it
I wonder if it
definitely
was
contributed
based
to
on
a
their
different vibe.
school schedules or something. I wonder if they were
Yeah.
back in school. The older kids maybe had been back in school in August. Because obviously in the US, there's some kids are back in school even in early August, depending upon where in the country you live. Now, in your previous slide, before we get to this slide that we're going to jump in, you mentioned a smell on the slide. And I know about this because obviously you and I talk outside of the show and we're friends. But tell us, we got to cover this because it's part of the cruise. This is not a good part of the cruise. Sorry, guys who are listening, watching, but there was a smell in your room. Describe the smell, please, Ashley.
Yes, I will describe the smell. So we walked in and we were on the deck 8 in the middle. We had an ocean veranda room, not the deluxe family, just a regular veranda room, connecting with my mom. And it was an overwhelming, it hits you smell of the sewage situation in the little bathroom room. And so I had known from listening to one of your other podcasts that this can sometimes happen. And our stateroom host says that it happens after particularly rough seas because everything kind of churns up down there. And so immediately after the muster drill, I was right down to guest services and told them about it. And they sent up a maintenance crew. And they did this super plunging thing. And the smell was gone, right? So we're like, okay, this is great. And then day 2 comes and the smell is back and is still there, but not from the bathroom section. And we didn't notice it for several hours because the weather was perfect and we had our doors open and our balconies connected and we were just enjoying the sea day and we were out and about exploring the ship. And they tried to fix it again. We had the main person for housekeeping with the stripes and everything. I forget what the actual title is.
Yeah,
And
like
they
the
came
hotel
by.
manager. Yeah.
Yes, the manager, the top manager person for housekeeping. And they brought fans and air purifiers and little scented things, and the smell did not go away. Our stateroom host said it had something to do with the particular pipes that were above our room because my mom's room connecting was totally fine. So it turns out, and it's something that they're going to be able supposedly to address during dry dock. So I think maybe this is just one of those, the ship needs to have a bit of maintenance where they take out some of the walls and fix things. We never had any liquid. Let me just be clear. There was never any physical. It was just a very, very overpowering small odor. And spoiler alert, we did get moved on day 3 of our cruise. So Disney worked with us to move our rooms. It took a while for them to find somewhere where we can move with my mom for connecting rooms, because they did offer us a room on deck 10 pretty much immediately, but we had to be connecting with my mom to be able to help. So, but yeah, we did get moved to the deluxe family ocean view room right next to the laundry room, which was great because I needed to do laundry.
It also
Well,
provides endless hours of entertainment as people bicker over washers and
people
dryers.
watching. Yeah, there is some fun people watching. But I want to say one thing, which is you do need to be persistent with
Yes.
advocating for yourself. I know from our text exchange, Ashley, that their original solution of just moving you guys, they tried to push that several times, and you kept pushing back and saying, no, that's not going to work. You need to be able. We need to move both of these rooms because you needed to be adjoining, because your mom's not a regular wheelchair user, so this is not something she's like used to transferring herself and all of that. She needed your assistance, and so this was really important. I know you had to really advocate for this, so I want to put it out there and say Disney made it right,
They
but
did.
but not without some pushing. And so that's just a matter of, I want to tell people, if something like this happens to you, you got to be an advocate for self. And this is one of those things where you're dealing with the onboard folks, and so it really needs to be you advocating. Your TA who's on boots on the ground back home isn't going to be able to communicate with the onboard stuff in the same effective way that you can in person.
And that's why I wanted to bring it up today, is just to make sure people know that I met with the housekeeping manager in the room so that we could discuss where the smell was coming from, how it was different from that first night after the super plunge, and really kept saying this is not going to work. And I see in the chat they moved a family. I think they actually moved a cast member because we got their tip slips in our room on the last night, and so I think it was someone. They bring people on,
like a vendor, yeah. Like a magician or somebody like that. Yeah.
Yes, because the other room the joining room we had not been occupied. So I think they just had to move that. And it was a single person. And so based on kind of our sleuthing skills, we didn't have to put a burden on any other family on the sailing.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Well, we got to talk day 2, Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, Remy date night. And you have some other observations for this was your sea day. Why is this her last Bibbidi Bobbidi? She can go through 12.
Yes, I know. But as some of your guests know, we're doing the South Africa ABD next year. And so we don't have another cruise booked right now. And I know it's a horrible thing. I'm not sure how I'm going to survive life with my first world problems. But so the next time we sail, she will have aged out of Bibbidi Bobbidi. So we had to make sure that she got that last experience. And we had a wonderful fairy godmother in training, this gentleman who was just wonderful. So yeah, it was a great last experience. And we just love Remy. Sorry, Enchante, but Remy just takes the cake. And we have gotten the same booth every time on the ships. So, and we got this elevator selfie for you, Tracy, because I know you loved your elevator selfies. So yeah, we did the champagne pairing. Daniel had the wine pairing. And
what is going on in this bottom left-hand picture with Daniel? He looks like he's either having a bout of indigestion or he is so enamored with his food he's just in bliss. I can't tell which.
I was probably both. That was the dessert. So we had a great experience. We were one of 2 people in the entire restaurant, so that was another thing. There was hardly anybody in adult dining.
Because the Europeans, they haven't experienced rotational dining, so they don't want to pay for the additional and also miss regular dining. Yeah.
And miss regular dining. So it was great. It was wonderful being in both adult dining spaces because we really had so much attention. And this is Daniel saying, "Oh my, I can't eat anything else." And then he tries his dessert of whatever this peanut butter mousse foam amazing thing is, and just is like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing."
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, this is a good time for me to mention food allergies, because I know Catherine has an egg allergy. You have since been able to, you had a soy protein allergy, but now you're able to eat soy protein. I always love to ask you questions about how Disney's handling food allergies on board. I want to ask you sort of generally, how did that go with Catherine's egg allergy?
Yeah, we had a great time, a great experience. Disney Cruise does a great job with that. Of course, we're notified in advance, and you always check and ask. But had a great experience with that. We know to order the next day in advance, so that her meals come not without much delay on the sailing. We also had, except for one place in London, we also had a fantastic experience there. Every server asked us if anyone had any dietary preferences or allergies. So I really think the world is just catching up. Which is good. But the food was different in Europe on that sailing because the provisions are different. I know you experienced that a little bit maybe in Alaska. They ran out of lemonade. They had no lemonade.
Yeah.
They had no ginger ale in main dining. So I'd have to go to the adult bars and get ginger beer. And then the pasta was different. So just, some of the heads up that when you've gotten to different ports for different provisions, there are going to be some different things.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Nathan was after Embarkation Day lunch. He said the mac and cheese was the normal, and then the next day at dinner, it was a lighter color mac and cheese. It was not the same color, and it was slightly different noodles. And he didn't have mac and cheese on this sailing. After that, he really didn't. He switched. He went and ate like pasta with tomato sauce pretty much every meal after that. So
yeah, same thing. Catherine had a sit down lunch on the first day and said, "Nope, I'm good. I'm just going to have chicken fingers and fish sticks and broccoli." So,
yeah. Well, let's talk about Vigo, Spain. Tell us about this port and what you got up to.
So I included a picture of our doors because since we did have to move rooms, I got to redecorate our doors. And there was a lot of door decorations. Even though these were first-time cruisers, they knew to decorate their doors. So that was fun. We saw Pluto's little door we hadn't seen before. Catherine and I did, what's the thing where you go around the ship? Midship Detective.
Oh, Midship Detective Agency. Yeah, the best.
Yeah, we had never done that before. So we really relaxed this day. We enjoyed the ship. It was practically empty. And we just took advantage of a quieter ship. It was pirate night. And some of the different paintings around the ship and just seeing the characters. Daniel decided to go for a run because, as we know, he loves to go out and about and go for runs at these different ports. And I'll say for the two ports we went to, Vigo and La Coruna, there were some beach break type excursions, but the water's fairly cold, and we don't need to go see the beach. And there was a lot of seeing old things and ruins, those types of, and there was only one wine and cheese adventure, which did sell out after we booked it. So there was very few port adventures for these two ports, which was fine because we docked right in the middle of the port. So you didn't need to have taxis or anything to get around. And so Daniel went on a run. He loves to do that. And this picture is actually the Castello Castro, one of the old forts that's in the top of that you can see on a mountain. And he ran up there and met people on Disney excursions that were on a tour bus that got up there. And so it's very safe, very welcoming, very easy. And you can see the port. It's a working one, kind of industrial port, and it's all fogged in.
I was say, you can see a heavy fog layer down there for sure. Yeah.
Heavy fog. And you can see out of Catherine's porthole photo, it's heavy fogged in. So not a great pool day, but beautiful weather once you got up a little bit above the port.
So you did some wine shopping.
Daniel did with his Spanish.
Did you bring some wine back to the States with you?
Of course. We went wine shopping before we got on the boat for local wines to take on the boat. And then we did some more shopping in both of our ports, Vigo and La Coruna. And Daniel got to try out his Spanish. And apparently he's so good with Rosetta Duolingo that the guy started immediately speaking in full Spanish back to him very quickly.
Oh my gosh.
So that was a funny
wait, slow down, right? Then he has to be like, Poco.
He came back with red and white, and that was all he needed. Local red and white. Yeah.
I do want to call out, because I agree with this comment. I was going to say something. That photo of Catherine with the Peter Pan picture is an amazing photo. So always a reminder when we do these live episodes and people are kind enough to share photos with us, if you're listening to us afterwards, you can head over to YouTube and watch the live episode there, so you can see some of these great photos we're seeing.
And,
She's
and
flying. She's
I
Tinkerbell and
It's
Peter Pan
great.
flying
It's
over the
that
city.
is
Yeah.
fabulous.
I gotta say though,
how many takes did that take? How many takes?
Probably
Three.
only one. Oh, sorry, that's not that many. But listen, Catherine, she knows how to work the camera. She's also a ballerina. She knows, like, she's really good with body movements. Like she's easily photographed. She's very photogenic kid. And you guys have you have a good routine of taking lots of photos all over the place. This was moving day, you mentioned as well. So you had to move rooms this day, right?
Yes. Actually, no. La Coruna was moving day. So,
Oh, La Coruna. Okay.
and it was unfortunately in the middle of Disney was going to help move us, which is fantastic. It was great, but it was during a very in-depth crew drill because the night before we had a helicopter rescue. I know y'all had one of those off your cruise, but there was a medical rescue, a helicopter evacuation, and it was about, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night. Daniel's at the movie because the first run movies had just been released of one of the Star Wars or one of the something, I don't know, some superhero movie. And he went to go see that. We saw Freakier Friday was just released, which was a lot of fun. And I thought it was a massive thunderstorm because you have the helicopter searchlights trying to figure out where to hover. And then you have the massive winds and the room is shaking. And we're on deck 8, which is not even that high. And the doors are shaking. And I didn't know what was going on. But it turns out it was a helicopter evacuation. So we found out the person was fine. So the next day was a big crew drill and they did man overboard drills and it went on for about 2 hours. And so nobody could help us move. So that was a bit unfortunate, but got to do safety first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Alan's saying probably Fantastic Four. That released in the US in mid-July, but it probably released in Europe after. So that would make sense because they're going to do their releases probably based on what's local. Now, okay, so we're talking La Coruna. So Daniel did an excursion, a hike along the Camino de Santiago.
Yes.
What was his review of that excursion?
Absolute best port excursion he has ever done. And yes, that includes Alaska.
Wow. Okay. That is high praise. That is high praise. Now, you guys had some friends in this port that you got to visit, and they actually gave you some info. I remember part of your consideration with your mom's injury was, did you need to cancel, right? And were you going to be able to get off the ship at all in port? You know, of course, there was consideration about London as well, but you have friends who live near here. So what did they tell you, and how did it go?
Yes, and Daniel's excursion was through Disney, and it was a guided hike, I think 7 miles. It was very small, only 10 people, so fantastic excursion. And so we had friends that are living around the world and they happen to be in this port city for a month and they checked it out and the port is fantastic. There was just a few excursions that you could do. And I actually have a picture of the swimming adventure because it literally was right there. You're in this little bay and you've got these 2 old forts from like 700 years ago, 700-year-old, built in the 700s, excuse me. And then they have this roped off area of the bay to swim in. And so that you could literally swim very close to the ship. You could probably get some cool photos like that. So it was a great port city, step right off. And we got great gelato and a very accessible port. Everything was flat. We went to 2 different playgrounds, had some great Iberico ham, saw live just street dancing. It was a fantastic wander around Port City.
Awesome.
And not many, you'll notice a picture if you're looking on YouTube, it's not kids soup. So it was great weather that day on this day, the second day. And the pools were not kids soup. There were not many people. We did have to wait in a good bit of a line for the aqueduct ride, but the big water slide. But the pools were great.
Awesome. Love that. Fantastic. Now, back on board, you got the Aladdin stage show this night. You had mentioned you had to go, of course, to Frozen the first night. I haven't asked you yet about the shows, but you've seen Frozen, I know, on the
Sorry,
Wonder.
I have to pause.
Alan.
Alan just highlighted To be fair, Alan is on board a lot, so he has to.
Alan is on board for the entire
He has to
European season this
diversify
year.
here, but
So
he's quoting. He said the KFC there is really good with ultra fast Wi-Fi. So,
he downloaded a few movies, he said there. But listen, he's on board for the entire
on you,
Europe
Alan.
season,
Good on you, Alan.
you know, this year. He's not doing the crossing because they've got dry dock before the crossing. So but he did the crossing on the way there. So he's been on board. He's still on board, as we said. He'll see our friends, the Morals, will be on next week. He'll see them next week probably. So, but anyway, okay, you get to see Aladdin. Had you seen Aladdin? Oh yes, you probably had seen Aladdin on
On the Wish.
On the Wish. That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
How were the productions of Frozen and Aladdin? And you probably then also saw Believe on board.
Yes, we did see Believe. I will say that I saw a lot of kids eating at KFC and McDonald's at this port. So Alan's right there.
I've been guilty when we've been in Europe for an extended period. Sometimes you just want a hamburger from someone who knows how to make a hamburger. So I can totally appreciate it.
To answer a couple quick questions, the port excursion that Daniel did, that hike, it was most of the day we were in port. So it was pretty much the only thing he did. So multiple hours, you really had to be fit. And then the food allergies in the port, I'm going to say we had this ice cream place, this gelato place. Usually we can't eat gelato with Catherine's allergies. And they had, I can send you a picture if you want to in the Facebook group. They had every allergy listed on the sign on the outside of everywhere we ate and walked around.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. Yeah, it was a great surprise. So this is where the fantasy is showing her age and that she really does need that dry dock. A lot of the cast members talked about it. They kept saying, we can't wait for the dry dock. The carpets didn't show their age, but the technical stuff did. And that main stage show of Aladdin was completely different because they just don't have the lighting and the mapping of the theater to do the extra stuff that they do. They don't have the same, it was the exact same production, but different stage sets. Aladdin doesn't swing on like he does in the Wish version. So it was a really interesting comparison. So I know that the Walt Disney Theater is going to get a good upgrade.
Yeah. Did you hear? Because we haven't heard about theater upgrades out of her dry dock. Did you hear from crew on board that the theater is getting some upgrades?
From the technical side, like the sound and audio production value. So I don't think that the stage show itself is going to change.
Well, and maybe the projection mapping technology that they're using on the Wish class, on the sort of on the walls, there might be some of that kind of additions, hopefully.
I wish Disney would highlight that stuff because I complain constantly that they're only investing in spaces where they make more money, and the theater doesn't make them a ton of money. I don't. Maybe they treat it like a bar space and they count the drinks sold. I don't know, but like, it's good to hear them investing in spaces that everyone can use and not just building a tower suite in the funnel.
Yes, because I talked to several people. We had to get there. This is a tip for people. If you do need the accessible seating that is reserved for you, there's 2 different seatings areas where you walk in at the very back on both levels. There's accessible. And my mom was a transfer wheelchair user, so she would sit in like the more comfortable seat. And that worked out great, but there's only a few of them. And so the other option, and this is how we got the information about the technical behind the scenes style upgrades for the theater, is we got to go down to deck 2 or 1 in a behind crew space into a watertight door to be able to come in at the bottom of the theater. So it is like the concierge early seating entry on the Wonder and Magic, but this is through a crew area, and this watertight door that they have to open and close from the deck, it was incredibly thick. It was a really neat experience. So if you do need accessible seating, you might want to show up not the first person so you get that experience.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, your last day of your cruise before, of course, Embarkation Day was a sea day, and you got to do Palo brunch, of course, the best brunch in the world, in my opinion.
Yep.
And then
debatable best brunch in the world, but certainly maybe the best
At
brunch at
sea?
sea.
The best brunch at sea, alright, and then, you did well, tell us about the day you did, of course, the Midship Detective Agency. I mean, that's the best thing on the Fantasy and the
Yes.
Dream class ships. I would do that pretty much every day. I mean,
Over,
of
and
course
I didn't
yes.
realize there's 30 different ways it can go, because there's 3
Yeah.
different tracks
There's
and
yeah.
then 30, like, so many different outcomes. So yeah, the midship detective was huge. So many, and this is another observation from the EU sailings. It was the character lines were extremely long, but all
Mhm.
the other magic shots, we have some really cool magic shots from Star Wars and I guess the Avenger people. I don't know, but the really cool magic shot,
Marvel
and
Adventures, yes, yeah.
lots of great backgrounds. No lines for any of those photos, so we
Oh,
took
interesting.
advantage. And I have 2 other things to note here. It was my daughter's birthday, and so as I mentioned, and so she got her Happy Birthday Mickey bar. We had great servers. I put a picture of these crayons because every night we'd had a different crayon puzzle to solve with main dining.
Love
And our servers, we got a lot of information about them, about the dry dock, and if they were staying on through the dry dock or what their next contract was. Because I noticed on the Fantasy, all of these seem like lifers or multi-year crew. They had been on the Fantasy a very long time, and our stateroom hosts, and a lot of them are excited about the adventure, actually, because they live in that area of the world. So it's going to be such an easy commute home. And so I think a lot of the crew members are excited about the adventure coming back. We talked to a lot of, or coming out in their sailings. So that's, I think, great for them.
Yeah, I think a lot of particularly folks who are from Indonesia, it's, like,
Mhm.
super close to Singapore, and a lot of folks from Indonesia work in Singapore even, and so I think there's, as you mentioned, a lot of folks from sort of that part of the world, are looking forward to being, quite a bit closer quite a bit
Yeah.
closer at home. Now, there was a Broadway sing-along? How did
Okay,
I miss
Sam,
this?
you wouldn't know it. So this was one of the piano players that are just playing in the atrium,
Ah,
and it was we were on these lines for photos, and it's the 3 stories in this beautiful atrium. I love the Fantasies atrium, and he starts playing Wicked,
no.
and the Wizard and I,
Oh,
and
nice.
all 3 levels get quiet and you just start hearing people sing, and Catherine singing and dancing, and then he goes into Les Mis, and I have chills because you have, I swear, this entire cruise were all in choirs because every person I heard 4-part harmony all around me. I have chills thinking about it. And just so we kept playing these wonderful Broadway songs for 30 minutes, and you have hundreds of people around you singing, and you just can't plan this. This is not something on the app. This is just the magic of Disney. And
Oh my god.
it's such a wonderful moment. So yeah, shout out to that. Just, magic.
Oh my god, I love that. Yeah, that I have
Mm-hmm.
never experienced that on a cruise. The only thing that came close was the dueling pianos on the Alaska sailing, which I gotta say were fabulous. You had actually, I think you were the first one who maybe told me about that was even a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. It's only in Alaska and not necessarily every sailing. But anyway, it sounds like a fantastic cruise. Now you got to go back to London. You, of course, sailed back into Southampton the next morning. You had the same Sprinter van reservation or same company
Mm-hmm.
for the transfer back to London, and you spent some more time in London. I know for several days right after. How many days did you guys spend in London?
A
And
whole
tell
week,
us a
Sunday.
whole
We're a
week.
whole
Oh
week,
wow!
Sunday to Sunday. Yeah. So we had to hit some stuff, and I know we're running late on time, so I'll hit the highlights for you. But we did all the touristy stuff, right? The London Eye, the Harry Potter studios. I'm not so much of a Harry Potter person, but if you like behind the scenes movie making, it's completely different than going to Universal's Harry Potter worlds, which are great too. So my husband and daughter absolutely love that. My mom skipped out. And so that was fantastic. And we went to 2 musicals. We saw the musical Six, for the 3rd time because we're in London. We
So
had to.
good. It's so good.
And so good. And the theater was 18 seats wide, and that was it. And so it was amazing. It was awesome, right? Because they're just right on top of you. No balcony or anything. And then we saw Hercules, which was the complete opposite experience because it's at the very recently remodeled Royal Drury Lane Theater with the King and the Queen's boxes and phenomenal pre-theater drinks and just a gorgeous theater. And I'm going to have a hot take on Hercules, y'all. I'm excited for the Destiny. I listened, of course, to your show a couple weeks ago where you had folks that actually went behind the scenes to see the rehearsals for the Destiny's version of the show. That was a completely different show than we saw.
Wow. So do you think that the one on DCL is going to be better? That's what I think. I think it's going to, I think I mean, I've heard good things about the one in London, but I think the one on Destiny is going to be even better with its like puppetry and all that.
There was puppets, but not to the extent that we heard about and then saw those photos. I think it's going to be better for one main reason, and that's because it's going to be shorter. It's not going to be this extended, drawn out. Now, let me say, the performers were phenomenal, great. The muses were our favorite part. The muses were, and two of them were understudies, and they were great. Hercules was great. But it felt like, well, let's throw another song in here because we have an extra couple $1 million. Let's do another costume change because we got a couple $1 million. So I'm glad we went. You can skip it and just watch it on the Destiny is my hot take.
Nice.
All right. I got to ask a couple questions here. One is I want to know, I mean, Catherine looks to be having a fantastic time. It's been the one thing I've been sort of nervous about taking Nathan to like London for a week. Is he going to enjoy it? Because, it's just old buildings and museums. I mean, I love London, by the way. That's not a knock on London to any of our British listeners out there. If I could move to London today, I would.
Yeah, we love London. Yeah. It's just a matter we don't know how Nathan will love London.
What did Catherine think?
So I thought about this a lot because I wanted her to enjoy it. And the fact that she loves Six the Musical helped with that because we went to Hampton Court. We took the train out, about an hour train ride, and we went to Hampton Court, and it was the best day because they immerse you with audio guide for that, not a lead tour, but they immerse you in, she's sitting at the Privy Council table. She is picking up the feast, the bowls and mugs that they used for the feast, goblets, I guess. We saw the chapel in they were having a service in the chapel. There was an amazing playground with Beatrix Potter characters and just amazing grounds. They had, from accessibility standpoint, they had an elevator that you had to have the staff call up and down for you. It was great. And the rooms, everything, it wasn't like walking through a museum. It was like walking through a house that you then got to touch and feel and experience things. So that was a fantastic day. One of our best meals was at the Muted Swan, or the Mute Swan, that's just outside Hampton Court Palace. And we approached it like a park day. We sat down in the shade. We had some cool drinks. And it was a great experience for this age range. Same thing we did the Westminster tour. We had a great guide, but then we said, we saw Changing the Guard. We don't need to see the Parliament palaces with her. And so we just kind of took it at her speed, which was great. The food was phenomenal.
Well, so I got to ask, because I know you did two things that we've recommended on our show. I can see the menu for the Punjab in here, which is, for those out there listening, we love it. It's an Indian restaurant in London, allegedly, the oldest North Indian restaurant in the city, frequented by the royal family. Although I don't know what places are not frequented by the royal family in London, to be perfectly honest. Did you like it? Did you like the food? Was it a good recommendation, or would you skip it?
Oh, fantastic recommendation. Okay. 100%. Everyone should go. Great location as well. And not as spicy as Daniel got. More spice than I would want. But they really discussed it, right? So it was a good level of spice for him. That was fantastic. Catherine ate fish and chips almost every day. So we eat fish and chips all over the place. The Dickens Inn in St. Catherine's Docks was great. St. James Cafe also had really good restrooms. And then we went to this Franco Manca pizza place 3 times, y'all. 3 times we went to this place. It is in the middle of West End. It was convenient. It was easy. It was great local food. It was a local place. It was not a touristy spot, even though it was in one of the little West End, Maiden Lane offshoots. They had a Nutella pizza that Catherine celebrated her birthday again. with a Nutella pizza, Aperol spritzes, great salads, and with all of that heavy food.
It's a birthday season, Ashley. It's a birthday season.
Oh, it's a birthday season, yes. And so with all of that heavy food from the pubs, it was nice to have these great sourdough pizzas that was real light and just delicious. And we spritzed our way around London. That was the drink of the.
And I
the
see you
drink of the
did.
time.
You did Borough Market. That's a good. That's a favorite of ours. Great spot to go wander around and get some food from food stalls down there.
Yes, we got Iraqi food and Pakistani food. I mean, it's just like great food. And my picture was, I want that, and I would just point to something, and they would prepare it for you. And we got the overhyped chocolate strawberries as well, but you got to get them. Yeah.
All right, I got to wrap us up here by asking. I mean, there's no better way to end than afternoon
with
tea
Fortnum
at
and Mason. Yeah.
Did it live up to the hype, Ashley? Did you have a nice afternoon?
Yeah,
tea?
we recommended Fortnum and Mason. I don't know how many times on our show, and then directly to Ashley when she was planning. I'm like, you must go there. I know they can accommodate allergies, but it's also just like the best tea experience and such great food.
And we're not tea people. I'm moving to Fortnum and Mason. It was the best 3 hours of our life. And we rope dropped it. So we got there very early, first people in. They opened the door for us. And so we basically had our own private shopping before the crowds got there beforehand. And best tea experience. The pianist saw that Catherine had a Belle doll, and he played Beauty and the Beast songs. And of course she danced to it. And she received, an applause. It was the best experience. We took so many things to go in those cute little boxes and then ate them later. I mean, I'm moving there, forward all my mail. It was unbelievable. 1,000 out of 10 recommend. And then our other two core memories, my daughter, as you mentioned, is a dancer, and she gets her first pair of point shoes. So we went to the Freed of London, the original point shoe makers, to get fitted for her first pair. And then Daniel, my running husband, met up with 3 different run groups while we were there. And just the community in London welcomed him in. And it was just a great way to explore the city. If you are the type of person that loves a particular athletic thing, just get on. I don't know how he found these run group people, but he did. And so he just went running through all different areas of the city that we would not have explored as a tourist, and made some friends. So like my dad always says, when you're sailing with the mouse or vacationing with Disney, like it's just the best time.
Yeah, I used to do, when we go to London, there was like a woman who had like a running tour company, and she would you just meet her someplace, and then you'd map out kind of here's kind of what I want to see, and here's how far I want to go, and here's how fast I can run. And she would kind of run with you through the city and take you to different spots. And she'd always bring a camera and a backpack with water, so you didn't have to carry it with you. And it was lovely. I think she's during the pandemic, that business went to the wayside, but yeah, it was unfortunate.
Yeah,
unfortunate
such a bummer.
For sure.
Well, I love that you did her shoe fitting at Freed of London. I mean, that is just like an iconic place to go and thing to do for a ballerina, especially. So I think that's wonderful. I love that you got to experience this all with your mom as well. She's a lovely person. We got to meet her on the podcast cruise. I know how much she loves traveling with you guys as well. So definitely sounds like a fantastic trip. Oh, you had to bring up CT's comment.
I have to bring up CT's comment because there is only one right answer to this question. So CT is saying, no such thing as too much hype for Fortnum & Mason. Jam or clotted cream first on your scones? Sam, what's the correct answer?
No, I can't say because I have a different answer than everybody because I only put clotted cream on my scones. I don't put jam on my scones.
But that is the correct answer. You put it on first and then you add the jam because
so it doesn't fall off. Yes, we watched The Crown before we went as part of our research, so we knew how to drink our tea and take our tea. So and all of the pastries. Yes.
Pinkies up. Pinkies up. Yes. Yeah. I gotta get this comment off the screen now. How do I? There we go. Sorry, Ashley.
There we go.
Yes. Well, Ashley, it sounds like a fantastic sailing with Disney. The room issue aside, but they took care of you. It sounds like an otherwise fantastic family vacation. And it sounds like you had a great time. Sounds like Catherine had a great time, which gives me hope that maybe Nathan will enjoy London if we take him over there. So thank you for coming on and spending some time with us this evening. Sam, what do we got up next week? Are we back? Are we back on our regular schedule?
We are I don't remember. I'm blanking. I know
schedule all the live shows. How do you not know what's up next?
I know.
I'm pulling it up.
I honestly, I just blanked. I had it in my head at the
Isn't
beginning of
it?
the show.
Isn't it?
Blanked.
Aren't Kelly and Charity joining us to talk about a ladies
Yes.
only wish cruise?
Yes, that's right. We're going to be joined by a friend of the show, Kelly, and her friend who we have not met before, but Charity, and they went on a recent cruise, just a bunch of girlfriends, girls weekend on the Wish. So we're going to be returning to our Bahamian roots and talking about Disney Cruise Line adults only with Kelly and Charity next week. Absolutely. Now, Ashley, you mentioned you've got that South Africa ABD coming up next year. You know that you're coming back on the show to talk about that, right? You gotta
Look,
pencil
I'm
that
still
in.
disappointed she's not coming on the DCL Duo group cruise.
I know, but this is why. It's because she's going to South Africa, so she had
Fine.
We can't do both. I have a budget. I have a bank account. I know. I'm really upset we couldn't that the South Africa and the river cruise overlapped. But 2027, summer of 27, we'll make
She
something
wants to
happen.
come back. She wants to come back to Alaska with us. I know.
There you go. Alaska. So we joked last live show about the Alaska cruise. I'm just going to go ahead and say, I think we know we're going to book Alaska in 2027. Provided we book 2027, we will make it a DCL Duo podcast cruise. We'll break from tradition of every other year to do one again in 2027. But yeah, there you go. There you go. All right. Well, with that, we will wrap up. I will say thank you to everyone out there for hanging out with us. I know we ran a little over time, but we had a lot to cover. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Ashley, thank you for coming on. And otherwise, we'll be back. Same time.
And special thanks to Karen as well.
Yes. Yes. We will be back next week. Same time, same location, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And otherwise, have a great evening, everyone. See you real soon.
Good night.
See you real soon.